Hey everyone, welcome back to another episode of r/ProRevenge. In today's episode, AT&T tries to screw me over $139. I actually screw them out of $72,000. After that, illegally park and block driveways in our neighborhood and do it consistently while throwing a party. Expect what's coming. Finally, steal my design and get all the credits. Enjoy getting kicked off. Before we get into today's episode, remember to subscribe so you never miss another episode of r/ProRevenge. AT&T tries to screw me over $139. I actually screw them out of $72,000. After my wife and I got married last year, we decided that we should both get on the same phone plan. We went down to the AT&T store and met with a rep who told us we'd both be on an unlimited plan for $70 all in, including taxes and fees. I was very specific about getting the all-in price for the service. It seemed like a decent deal, so we signed up. 2 days later I log into the website and see that there's already a bill for $139. I call up a rep to see what's up and they tell me that between the activation fees, taxes, and surcharges, the bill was correct. I told them what the salesperson told me and they basically told me to pound sand. I promptly told them I wanted to cancel the service and wanted the $139 waived. They said they could cancel the service, but would not waive the bill. They also told me if I cancelled immediately my wife and I would lose our phone numbers, which is true. So I figure since I already have to pay for the month, and I don't want to lose my phone number, I will just get a new carrier and cancel when I'm ready. So I do my research and find Visible, which is excellent, and we make the switch. I call back to AT&T and inform them that we have switched carriers and want to cancel the service. I again ask for a refund. The rep informs me that since I have had the service for 4 days that I am not entitled to a refund. He tells me to read the fine print on the contract, which indeed tells me that I have 3 days to cancel for a full refund. I'm now fuming, because the first CSR that I talked to on day 2 denied me a refund if I cancelled. I ask for the next level of CSR and they send me to a customer care and retention person. I explain the entire fiasco to him, and how I feel that I have now been lied to twice by AT&T reps, sales rep and first CSR. He is a really cool guy and apologizes and says he'll take care of it and will completely waive the bill. I am very thankful and hang up thinking that this is finally resolved. Fast forward a month and I get an AT&T bill in the mail saying my payment was not received and is now late. I again pick up the phone and call AT&T. I eventually make my way through 2 CSR reps until I get back to the customer care and retention department. This time I did not have the chill dude. Instead, I got a very smarmy woman who said that the bill was due and I'd owe the entire amount. I asked her to please check the CSR notes and that the last guy told me he would waive the amount. She put me on a 10-minute silent hold and came back and said she'd escalate the matter to her supervisor. She said I should receive an email by the end of the week with a resolution. 2 weeks go by, no response. I call again. This time I get a very nice lady that is sympathetic. She says she'll waive the bill. She comes back and tells me that she can't do anything, because the bill has already been sent to collections. She said not to worry and that she'll send a letter to collections to have them waive the debt. I ask if this will go on my credit report and she says no, and that they'll take care of it. 6 months later I get the letter in the mail from Sequiem Asset Solutions out of Georgia trying to collect on the $139. I immediately send them a letter via certified mail demanding that they verify the debt, since it's obviously bad. I hear nothing for 2 months, and then I get an alert that I have a negative mark on my credit. I go in, and sure enough Sequiem has indicated that the amount is in collections. I immediately write letters to all 3 bureaus requesting that they remove the remark. A month goes by and every single one of the bureaus removes the mark, thank God. Another 3 months go by and then I get a letter from Sunrise Credit Services in NY again trying to collect on the debt. This is truly unbelievable, because it appears that Sequiem couldn't verify it, so, instead of apologizing and waiving the debt, they just sold it off to another collection agency. I send another certified letter to Sunrise demanding verification. I get nothing in reply. So far they have not attempted to put a mark on my credit. That's where this part of the story ends. Who knows what will happen next? I could file a lawsuit, but the filing fee alone would be more than the amount owed. Here's the thing. I am not cash strapped. I am blessed enough that I could easily pay the $139 without making a dent in my budget. I have lost 5x that amount in hours spent on the phone and writing letters. But I am determined to go to the mat with AT&T on principle alone. This brings us to the revenge stage. You see, in addition to my day job as an attorney, I am an elected city councilman in my town. And when I was going over our monthly expenses, I noticed that we were paying AT&T close to $6,000 a month for our phones, internet, and TV services. We're a fairly small town, so it was pretty obvious that we were being bent over by these clowns and that we could save a ton of money by switching. I started working with our city manager and a director on finding other solutions. We discovered that by switching to various carriers and providers that we could save half. I never would have looked that closely into our telecom expense had AT&T not jerked me around. 2 weeks ago the resolution to switch was put on our meeting agenda and the council voted to pass it. We decided to completely cut ties with AT&T. Our city is saving a ton of money, getting better service, and with the money we saved from switching we were able to hire another part-time animal shelter employee, which we desperately needed. I highly doubt our city would have considered switching if I didn't make such a stink about it. AT&T will end up losing hundreds of thousands over the coming years because of this. I hope it was worth it. AT&T. Illegally park and block driveways in our neighborhood and do it consistently while throwing a party. Expect what's coming. 2 years ago a new family moved into our quiet little neighborhood and began their reign of terror. We've lived here for over 20 years in this neighborhood, and except for these past 2 years, it's been wonderful. I love our neighbors. Except this family. This just family sucks. I'm not even sure where to begin. They are loud. They are dirty. They are obnoxious. Their dog barks at all hours. They constantly yell at each other. They throw parties well into the night. They steal my old neighbor's paper. They actually trained their Rottweiler to fetch the neighbor's paper. Impressive, but wrong. They throw their dog's poo into other yards. So much. They even cut my 80-something-year-old neighbor's prized roses for themselves. Who does that? There are about 100 issues I could write about in how we've all dealt with them, but this past weekend was my own glorious take on it all. Oh, and yes, we tried talking to them. We tried inviting them over. We've done nice things for them, and all we've expected is that they act like decent neighbors. That's never happened. In our neighborhood, parking is scarce. Most of these homes are classic 1950s with single-lane driveways, and parking is limited even on the streets. There's a busy road a few blocks away that has a great nightlife and popular restaurants, which means that at times, especially on the weekends, the street can fill up. This family has 4 drivers and 5 vehicles with only enough space for 2 in their driveway at a time. Constantly they would park and leave their vehicles for days, and sometimes weeks, in front of others' homes, sometimes leaving their driveway empty for no reason with all of their cars parked on the road. I kind of believe that, in itself, isn't that big of a deal except for how and when they would do it. They were intentional about it all, would do so to try to and cause the most grief with everyone. And this went on for months. A complete frick you to everyone. After months of this, and no one retaliating or giving them the satisfaction of how pissed we all are, they started parking deliberately in ways to make it difficult to get out of our driveways. I had to have my husband come out most mornings to guide me so I wouldn't hit their car as I backed out of my own driveway. There were also times where they squeezed my neighbor's car on the street to where they couldn't get out. Finally, an older retired neighbor goes down to city police station and inquires about what to do. They found a code or law stating that so much space from the sides of driveways and yada 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 is required. So we come home one night to freshly painted yellow curbs outlining every house surrounding this one. A few weeks ago, my husband's car breaks down and he has to get towed. On his way back he starts talking with a tow truck driver about these AOLA neighbors and their cars. He tells my husband that if these cars are parking illegally, We should call the non-emergency line, and if they receive a ticket, to call him and he can tow them at owner's expense. It's the law. My husband and him keep talking and even meet up for a beer a few nights later. They are big fans of the Blazers. Rip City. He's a real good guy. About a month ago we met a couple in our fair city, and it just so happens that the husband is an officer. We were already planning on meeting that Friday night, and when we met I brought the AOLA neighbors and their parking. He says that he'll drive through on his shift if he gets time, and if he sees them parked in the yellow, he has no problem ticketing them. Great. He also gets some of his friends to check it out when they have time too. Fantastic. We've been calling almost daily at this point about their cars parked illegally, but nothing was happening. That Saturday night he sends me a text saying he ticketed 3 cars. I missed that text, so no tow truck, but I kind of figured with the 3 tickets they'd get the idea. They didn't. Off and on all week it was the same. This past Saturday the teenage son throws a party and everyone, I mean every single one of their guests and them, parked in the yellow of someone's driveway or blocked someone out altogether. Obviously the little it told all of his friends to block our driveways or block our cars in. I sent a text to our officer friend who told me to call the non-emergency line and he'd be the one to look into it. But I'm scheming bigger. I call up the tow truck driver and tell him that there are at least 15 cars parked illegally and all are about to receive parking tickets for blocking driveways and cars. I let him know we are friends with an officer, and he and I scheme a little further. We get a solid plan. I call our officer friend back and tell him our plan, and I also mention that the party is likely going to be filled with underage drinkers. Now, I hate busting parties, but I make exceptions for little its and especially little underage drinking and driving its. He and I finalize the plan. Here's how it all went down. Officer and 3 of his partners go through the neighborhood citing all of the cars. Meanwhile, our tow truck driver friend has assembled a group of drivers in the nearby grocery store parking lot. My husband and I make an anonymous call about a possible underage party. The tow truck drivers start at the ends of our street grabbing the cars as quickly as possible. A few alarms here and there, but no way could I hear it in the party. When they approach the house, my husband makes an anonymous call about an underage party in our neighborhood. Conveniently, our officer friend just so happens to still be in the neighborhood, so he and his partner go over to the house to check on it. As they knock on the door, lights go out, music shuts off, and the house goes quiet. At this moment, the tow trucks come in and are now towing the remaining 5 cars right from in front of their home. I just wish I could see the kids' faces inside as they are all having a dilemma about what to do. Do they go out and bust themselves for underage drinking and try to stop their cars from being towed? Or do they just sit and bite the bullet and watch $250 plus go down the drain? On Sunday they had 3 cars return from being towed and all 3 are parked just shy of the yellow lines. I'll call this a win. My husband and a couple of neighbors also spent Sunday putting up some new cameras. They were all very giddy and loud about it all. Something about all the lights and police on Saturday made them nervous. LOL. Steal my design and get all the credits. Enjoy getting kicked off. So my friend over in Korea studies fashion design. She sometimes sends me over the sketches of the designs, and they all look amazing. Then again, I'm not into fashion. She is particularly interested in designing handbags and purses. She told me a story about how she shut down one of the most entitled, self-centered, lazy students on campus. Cast: Grace. Our main character girl, Jane. The evil one. Professor. The instructor of the course. Story. At first, Grace and Jean got along just fine. They were both interested in similar stuff, and quickly became BFFs. Grace decided to show Jean her sketches and designs for handbags and purses, and Jane was so impressed by it. Because the sketches were in incredible detail, including all the patterns and sew lines, coupled with figurative measurements. Even Professor was impressed by it, and it was no surprise that Grace got a high mark on their first major exam. Jane didn't do so well, and practically followed Grace everywhere to get pointers on how to do better. So Grace decided to help her out. Unfortunately, Jane turned out to be one of the most entitled, lazy, and selfish people that Grace has ever met. Things that Jane did to piss Grace off included, but not limited to, not paying attention, being late on their study session, never showed appreciation, didn't pay for coffee or snack, complaining annoyingly about how hard it was to draw something. Grace pretty much gave up on her after a week, refusing to meet Jean outside of her class. Time went by and for their midterm, everyone in the class had to do a presentation on the stuff they had designed. When it was Jane's turn, Grace was shocked to see Jane had stolen one of her designs. Thankfully Grace had multiple designs going on so there were no conflicts when it was her turn to present, but she was seething with rage. Grace had a meeting with the professor afterwards, and the professor knew what was going on, but couldn't really do anything with Jane, because it turns out she was the daughter of the chairman, or one of the major investors. Grace said she can't recall. The chairman apparently blackmailed the professor into giving Jean the best grades. The revenge professor did, however, help Grace devise a plan to humiliate and expose Jane. For the finals, the professor announced to the class they would do another presentation, but it would be 3 designs and advised they had to bring their A games, because professionals from industries would be grading their work, and the head of the department and the chairman would be there as well. So you know how Grace had a bunch of sketches for the class? Well, Grace also had a separate sketchbook that had designs from major brands. MK, Coach, you name it. She never used these directly for class assignments, but rather as inspirations for her designs. Grace pretended to be all friendly with Jane again, and brought the other sketchbook on their meetings, still putting up with all the problems mentioned above. Grace secretly worked tirelessly on her new design, and did her best to keep it a secret from Jane. So the day of the final presentation arrives, and Grace and Professor are grinning, because they know what is about to happen. Grace went first, and she got a lot of praise from the judges. After a few more presentations, the last one to go was Jane. Jane's presentation turned out to be another copycat, copying designs of not 1, not 2, but 3 different companies. After the presentation, this was how it went all down, at least according to Grace. Judge 1. So you are saying you designed all these by yourself, right? Jane. That's right. Judge 1. And you swear that it really was your design, and didn't copy off from anything else, right? Jane. I swear. Judge 1. You are aware your designs are from 3 brands? Jane. Huh. Judge 1. Are you aware that these are on market right now, and some of the most popular designs? Jane. Wait, hold on. Judge 2. Yeah, I was going to bring this up. If you had worked for any brands, you would have probably been fired or worst case, sued. Jane. But, Judge 2. Please, I am not done yet. Did you honestly think this would work? We, the judges, have been in the industry for over 10 years. We know a copycat when we see it. Jane. But these aren't even my designs. They are from Grace. Judge 3. To Grace. Is this true? Grace. Yes, but I'd never use them for major projects nor call them my work. I just use sketches of them as inspirations for my own designs. Judge 3. Well, that was clear from your presentation. Turning back to Jane. Now, Ms. Jane, this is a clear case of plagiarism, and I do hope your school is merciful on this matter. After the presentation was over, the chairman screamed at the professor in front of everyone, not realizing he just revealed all the blackmailing and the secret grade deal. Jane tried to call out Grace on how you screwed me over, but it really didn't matter. No one listened to Jane's attempt in slander, and was kicked out of the school. Chairman pretty much lost all support and had to resign, and was replaced by far more honorable and competent one.